Hello and welcome into this edition of the Golf Show podcast with Rex and Lav. We are through two rounds of this 124th U.S. Open. Ludvig Åberg playing in just his third career major championship. Of course, he finished runner-up earlier this year at Augusta, followed by a missed cut at the PGA Championship. Rex, he certainly looks to be in full flight through 36 holes here, positioned at 5 under par. Has missed just 2 fairways and 6 greens through 36 holes. What stands out to you about the way that Luda has been playing so far?
We're going to keep watching, right? He's playing just his third major championship. He's playing in his very first U.S. Open. All the things we could sit and pick apart if it was probably anyone else. If you showed me someone else, didn't put a name to it and went, hey, this guy's 24 years old, first year on the PGA Tour. He's won, but he won back in the fall. Hasn't done a whole lot since then, and he's only playing in his first U.S. Open. I would find a lot of holes in that game. They're not there when it comes to Luda. Everything that he does, at least so far through 2 rounds, has been perfect for this specific golf course. You pointed out the things that he's doing well. He's not putting himself into trouble off the tee, and he's not causing himself a whole lot of stress around the greens, and that's really, really hard on this golf course. Today, it got toasty. It got fast. This is what we were expecting, and I'm guessing it's only going to sort of trend that way towards the weekend. But even with on that knife's edge, he seemed to have a pretty relaxed round. I mean, watching it from the outside, it wasn't flashy, but I never saw any sort of magic he had to pull out of the hat to make sure that he was making pars, because I think everybody realizes that there's not a lot of birdies out there, so you're trying to limit the mistakes. He really didn't have a problem with that.
He does. It is amazing to think of how all of the seemingly wild and outlandish predictions about Ludvig Åberg have actually come to fruition over the past 13 months. I mean, in college, everyone's thought that this was a potential world beater. All he's done since turning professional is contend consistently in PGA Tour events. He won on the European Tour. He won the final PGA Tour event of last year at the RSM Classic, your 5th major. And you think about, Rex, the way that he has played in the game's biggest events this year. Finished second at Pebble Beach, which was a rain-shortened event, 54 holes, a signature event on the PGA Tour. Very likely could have chased down Wyndham Clark for that title. Finished in the top 10 at the Players' Championship. Obviously a difficult test at TPC Sawgrass. Obviously finished runner-up at the Masters as well. Also has top 10s at the RBC Heritage and the Memorial Tournament. I mean, the guy is just built to perform in the best and biggest and brightest stages. His game is tailor-made for the modern game. He hits it long, as we've seen so far this week. He hits it incredibly straight. He hits towering iron shots, which on greens that are becoming increasingly firm and fast here at Pinehurst is obviously going to be a big help for him. And he's putted just absolutely lights out over these first 2 days at Pinehurst. More than 200 feet worth of putts made through 2 rounds. You couple that with seemingly a perfect on-course comportment for the U.S. Open, where he doesn't get flustered. He has an experienced caddy in Joe Scavron, who, of course, was on the bag for Ricky Fowler, the 2014 U.S. Open here, in which he finished in a tie for second. He looks very, very formidable and not at all flustered by the stage that he's on.
And this is a little bit different than certainly Augusta National. Obviously, Valhalla, he had never played those golf courses before. Those were just, eye-opening experiences. He had to go in, trust Joe. As you pointed out, he has an experienced caddy on the bag. This one, he actually has some experience on. He played in the 2019 U.S. Amateur, had some success, made it to the match play portion of the competition. And even though that wasn't the U.S. Open, I will go back. I believe you covered that event, so you can probably speak to this better than I will. That was kind of a trial run for what we see this week. They had the new grasses on the greens. They sort of had some of the new corridors that we're seeing in play this week. They had some of the new green complexes that we're seeing in play this week. So this is one of those rare instances when he actually has a little bit of experience, and you couple that with all the things that you just pointed out. I think it's been a really impressive performance, but now you open the door to all of those players who are behind him.
We will touch on Bryson DeChambeau here in a minute. I have just stumbled upon, Rex, a potential bubbling storyline for Saturday's 3rd round of the U.S. Open. That would be Patrick Cantlay and Rory McIlroy will be grouped together in the 3rd round. Patrick Cantlay came in with a 71 on Friday, is currently in a tie for 3rd, just 1 shot back. Rory McIlroy, another shot back after a 2nd round 72. If that doesn't get your juices flowing, on a Saturday at a U.S. Open. What can possibly do it?
This is what I went to last night when you sort of just plowed through the idea that we're going to talk about everyone on the leaderboard except for Patrick Cantlay. You simply were not in a mood. I recommend anyone who didn't listen to last night's mini podcast go back and double check that one. You had no interest in talking about Patrick Cantlay. And when I brought him up, you challenged me with why should we? Pretty much. I'm not quoting you there. I'm paraphrasing you, but it was tell me why. And I went straight to this specific storyline. Now, it's not 1 and 2 or tied for the lead like I think I said last night, but you look at the intrigue. And for those of us who hold microphones and write stories, this is intrigue between those two. First off, there's the palace intrigue of whatever's going on behind the closed doors on the PGA Tour policy board. By all accounts, when Rory wanted back on the policy board just last month, it was Patrick Cantlay who pushed back. Now, my understanding is the reason he pushed back is he was afraid that the membership wouldn't like the optics. The player directors are supposed to be voted on by the members.
Rules are rules, Rex.
Rules are rules. You
gotta follow the rules.
I was on PC side on that one because it already happened once when Rory stepped down from the board and was replaced by Jordan Spieth, and that was done without a membership vote. So I don't know doing it twice in a six-month cycle was a good idea. The other half of the intrigue is whatever happened on Saturday night between the time they finished up on the 18th green in their match, and I'm talking about Patrick Cantlay against Rory McIlroy, and by the time Rory got to the parking lot, and poor Bones Mackay was standing there, and he was the first American flag and took the brunt of that anger. I keep going back to the idea that neither one of these guys are going to give us what we want, which is a sneer, which is I'm not going to shake his hand, which is walking through someone's line, one of those petty things that those of us in golf always seem to want to fixate on. But it's there. It's bubbling up underneath because it's clear these two don't like each other.
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious they do not like each other. Again, I do not anticipate that it will not penetrate, it will not permeate through the proceedings here on Saturday at the U.S. Open. Bygones are being bygones. Rory McIlroy has forgiven Joe LaCava for what he deemed a breach of etiquette on that 18th green in Rome. I do think, though, Rex, it's another interesting subplot, and the drama just continually fouls Rory McIlroy, does it not? Whether it's filing for divorce, whether it's not filing for divorce, whether it's the transaction subcommittee, what's bubbling there, and now a potential friction with he and Patrick Cantlay. Again, I anticipate them shaking hands on the first tee, and they probably will not speak to each other again until the 18th green, where they shake hands and say, well played. Like this is golf. This is a U.S. Open. They're going to be plenty preoccupied by what's expected to be a very difficult golf course on Saturday here at Pinehurst. But I do like it. As a journalist, as an observer, I do like it. Keep in mind, it was Rory McIlroy late last year who said that he and Patrick Cantlay clearly view the world differently. It was Rory McIlroy who called Patrick Cantlay we can't say on this podcast, of course, but it is a male anatomy.
Careful.
I to look up that as well. Which player, though, Rex, do you have the most confidence in? Who do you think will play better on Saturday? Again, we're expecting USGA to tighten the screws a little bit. It was already getting quite firm and fiery on this Friday afternoon.
This one's going to be hard, and you're going to force me into a corner and make me pick one of them, and I'd rather not. But I will. I'll go ahead and play along with you for a couple of reasons. One, Rory did not putt nearly as well today as he did yesterday, but you look at all the other aspects of his game, he drove it just as well, hit his irons well, ended up getting some bad bounces, but by and large, it was just the difference between yesterday and today is yesterday he made a couple putts and picked up strokes on the green, and today he didn't make those putts and gave away a lot of strokes on the green. Actually, when you look at what that number is, I think it was 3.5 strokes he'd given back to the field today, and he was on the plus side yesterday. On the other side of it, you had Patrick Cantlay, who clearly didn't hit the ball as well today as he did yesterday. I was just texting with his swing coach, Jamie Mulligan, about some of the things that Pat has been talking about this week that they've been working on. And Jamie being Jamie, and I would highly recommend you YouTube Jamie Mulligan and listen or watch anything he's ever done, because he is by far the coolest man in the game and has a lot of knowledge to give out. But the simple answer is he just wanted to free pad up. He wanted him to be a little bit more efficient with his swing. I feel like if you look at least the strokes gained number compared to where he's been this season, I feel like he's moving in the right direction. So you wonder where they land on Saturday when they go head to head. I'm going to give the nod. You're not going to like this. I'm going to give the nod to Patrick Cantlay, because I feel like when it comes to whatever is going to happen tomorrow.
Why?
You asked me.
How?
I just explained. When you asked me when we look ahead to what's going to happen tomorrow, and I would also recommend anybody and everybody go read Terrell Hatton's transcript today from his round, because that is a study in psychological torture, what that man puts him through. But he really boils this down to very, very simple terms. He can play well at the U.S. Open because at a normal event, he's losing his mind and everyone else is fine. At this event, everyone is losing their mind. And I'm going to lean towards Pat in that matchup with Rory, because I feel like Pat can have the cooler head on the golf course.
I mean, there are so many reasons why you would take Rory McIlroy in that head-to-head matchup, not least because this is actually unfamiliar territory for Patrick Cantlay. As established as he is on the PGA Tour, an 8-time winner, a world-class player, a very efficient game, a very well-balanced game typically in non-2024 years. He has actually never played particularly well in a major championship. A T3 2019 PGA is his best finish. Also had a chance to remember the 2019 Masters before giving away a couple shots late on that second 9, as well as best finished career in the U.S. Open. I believe it was a T14 a couple years ago as well. He, quite frankly, has just not been in the position as often as Rory McIlroy, who has become something of a U.S. Open specialist. Yes, he has not won one of these big ones since 2011 in the U.S. Open. 5 consecutive top 10 finishes. He's first this week in strokes gained tee to green. I'm actually still very bullish on Rory so far this week. I think the second round 72 that he shot here on Friday was the highest that he could have shot. Yes, he chipped in to save par on 17. Yes, he got away with one on the par 5 fifth as well, making a par there when his playing partners both made double bogey. I still believe Rory. I like his strategy this week. I like the precision he has shown through 36 holes, and I still have much more confidence in Rory under the gun, even though he's not won a major championship in 10 years. He's just proven through his playing record and his resume, he's won just about everything else in the sport. I think this is still looking like a very promising weekend for Rory.
And all those are very valid reasons. You're absolutely right. And I'm not even going to lean into the idea that, well, Rory hasn't done it for 10 years. That would be the simplest way to do that. That would be the old-timey sports radio to do it. Well, I don't think he's going to do it because he hasn't done it for the last decade. And I don't think that holds up. I think this is, we talked about it earlier in the week, this is a different Rory. There seems to be a lightness in his step. There certainly seems to be a lightness in his swing as we've seen it. And he's proven over 2 rounds that he can play this golf course very, very aggressively. So no part of me is going to be surprised if he does not just come out ahead tomorrow, head-to-head with Patrick Cantlay. I wouldn't be surprised if he does get off that major championship schneid. This is really follow your heart, follow your head. And on this one, I'm kind of following my heart because I feel like Patrick Cantlay has maybe turned a corner. He certainly, the results haven't been there the last few weeks, so I'm not even going to try to justify it with that. I just like where the swing is.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly fair. You asked a pointed question of Patrick, which he did not give you a particularly good answer.
When I went to Jamie. See the way that works in journalism? He didn't give me a good answer, so I immediately texted Jamie.
He said his swing got a little bit too long, just trying to make it a little bit more efficient. It is pretty shocking to see a player of Patrick Cantlay's caliber, a top 10 player in the world, who is losing strokes to the field with his approach play. He's typically a very consistently excellent iron player, and that has been sort of the hallmark of his career to this point. Not so in 2024, not so coming into this event as well. You just wonder if some of the changes they're working on will hold up under the pressure of the U.S. Open spotlight, particularly when the golf course gets that difficult. How about Bryson DeChambeau, Rex? Followed up his opening 67 with a second round 69, just one shot back heading into the weekend. An entirely different test than Valhalla and for the PGA Championship, where he shot 20 under par. Valhalla was long, it was soft, it was wet, you could bash it anywhere. It did not take much imagination on and around the greens, which were typically flat and featureless. This is the complete opposite. There are so many different ways to play this golf course. There is so much more precision that's required, so many options you can have on and around the greens, and yet here he is again in a tie for second, heading into the weekend, trying to chase down his second U.S. Open title. Are you a believer in big, bad, not so beefy Bryson?
He's probably not the hero a lot of people want, but I think he's probably the hero we deserve. And by that, I mean, I love how Bryson DeChambeau, of all people, got a chuckle out of you on that one. Very good. I like how Bryson DeChambeau, of all people, when you listen to him talk, not just today, but yesterday as well, and even going back to Valhalla, he's trying to simplify things, which is shocking to me on so many different levels, where we all know the layers that are there. We know the calculations, and the hamster in the wheel in his head is constantly moving, and he's always thinking about whatever it is he's trying to accomplish. It's been the variables in this game of golf that have held him back, because he has found a way to make sure the constants are constant. That's the one thing I kept coming back to with Bryson DeChambeau. When you look at whatever the brilliance is of this complicated mind, all he was trying to do was take as many variables out of a very, very explosive game that has a lot of variables to it, just trying to get rid of as many as he could. But the guy I've heard talk the last 2 days seems to just want to simplify it. It's pick a target, try to make sure I'm committed to my swing, and just trust it. And in my mind, that's a new and different and entertaining Bryson. He's still out there hitting booming drives. He's still out there fist pumping. He's still out there entertaining the fans. But I love the idea that he's coming into this with a different mindset than maybe what we've seen in the past. And you're right. This isn't, you went to Valhalla, where, of course, he had a really good week. I went all the way back to Wingfoot, where he won his Open Championship. It's not even close to that. And we all thought that there was no way he was going to win there. So, no, there's no way I would ever put him out of the mix at this point, simply because of the tools he has in his bag.
Yeah, I still like Rory as my number one favorite, but Bryson is a quick and easy 1B for me. You talk about the lightness that Rory's showing. That is all over Bryson's face as well, who's clearly relishing being back in the spotlight, just as he was at Valhalla for the PGA Championship. He appeared on Smiley Kaufman's happy hour on the Friday telecast. What was that, 3 or 4 hours after he finished his second round, when he had no business still being at the golf course? He's clearly relishing being back among the best players in the world once again, and all of the media attention that comes with it. And he's just playing great golf. He has played great golf now consistently over the past 3 months. This is not a fluke. This is not an aberration. He has now been inside the top 10 in 10 of his last 11 major championship rounds. He's doing it in difficult conditions. He's doing it in easy conditions. He's doing it on firm and fast golf courses. He's doing it on soft golf courses. Like, he's just playing at a very high level right now. The key for Bryson is going to be driving the golf ball better than he did on Friday. He got away with it. This was a rare round in which Bryson actually lost strokes to the field off the tee. If you know anything about Bryson DeChambeau, that has not been the case over his past 3 or 4 years. He is consistently putting himself in the best position to attack. He did not do that, putted lights out. That's the reason why he shot 69 in this second round. If he continues to drive the ball long and straight like he did on Thursday, and like he's done primarily at Augusta National and Valhalla over these past 2 major championships, he's just going to give himself more chances for birdie than the other competitors in the field. And when those are going to be coming at a premium over the weekend, you have to really like Bryson's chances still.
And as an example of how I feel like he's keeping things simple, he was asked today about why do you think you've been able to put yourself into these positions, both not just at Valhalla and here, but he's also played really, really well on the Live Tour. And he immediately went to, I'm just comfortable with my clubs. It's as simple as that. And as we all know about Bryson, tinkering with the clubs is sort of in the DNA. I mean, he's at his heart, he's all of us. We're all searching for something new, trying to hit the ball a little bit further, trying to make better contact with our irons, trying to find the next big putter, which, by the way, you and I are still trying to find the next big putter if anyone is listening to this podcast. However, thank you very much. However, when you hear him talk today, it was, nope, I love everything. Love the driver. It's going long. It's going straight. My irons, I'm making the bulge-faced irons, whatever that means. They're exactly what I'm looking for. I've had the putter, I think he said 3 or 4 years in the bag now. It's the thing he's most comfortable with. That's what I'm talking about when I say that he's sort of gotten rid of all those demons that seemed to haunt him before, and he seems like he's more comfortable in his own skin now.
I also think Xander Schauffele is a very scary player, currently in a tie for 9th. 4 shots back heading into the weekend. I thought he played exceptionally well. Made a double bogey on the par 5 5th hole, his 14th of the day. Just very messy. Hit a tree off the tee shot, and then got caught in that left sandy area that also doomed Scottie Scheffler's round as well. So I think Xander Schauffele has the firepower, certainly in now the major championship pedigree, to be a very dangerous man on Saturday. How about some of your surprises on Friday, whether it be Brooks Koepka falling once again, second round 74, makes the cut on the number. Scottie Scheffler as well, shooting 74, making the cut on the number, or Tiger Woods missing the weekend and jetting back home to prepare for the last major championship of the year.
Scottie Scheffler, the world number one. We didn't see this coming. You and I didn't see this coming. I know we're going to get a lot of comments on this next comment I'm about to make, but no one saw this coming. Like, you can sit and say, well, Valhalla and him getting arrested had to catch up with him eventually. Not that. No, I don't agree with that. He was tired. Maybe. I mean, he talked a little bit today about the things he's going to learn from this week, and maybe playing the week before a major championship, specifically playing last week at Memorial, which played more like a major than most major championships do. That's probably not a recipe for success for many players. And certainly Scottie would count himself among that group. Not having a chance to prepare. And look, that's the cardinal sin when it comes to Scottie Scheffler. The things we know about him is he shows up prepared. And as we saw today, a couple times when he got in sort of those sandy areas, he just didn't know the right shot to play. He wasn't comfortable with what the golf course was asking him to do. And that's simply a lack of preparation, because it can't be the skill set. We know he has the skill set. You don't do what he's done.
Why would he practice out of the sandy area if he didn't anticipate he was going to be hitting it in there?
I think every player in this field knew eventually I was going to have to be hitting
it. Of course he needed to be playing there. I think he's talking
sure
about more, Rex, that like playing the Memorial the week ahead of time is
I mentioned that.
Sort of
That's what I said.
The prep that he's not looking forward to, especially as difficult of a test as Muirfield Village was over that weekend, the stress fest, finishing single digits under par. I mean, that takes so much out of you. I don't think it was anything on course preparation at Pinehurst. Like, he and Caddy
No, he said as much.
What they're doing.
No, he said as much. He said he didn't put enough specific practice into those areas, because it went back to what had happened a couple of times today. Like, look, and it's a difficult test, and it's going to ask a lot of weird things from you, and you have to find a way to answer it. And we saw it firsthand today. He just wasn't prepared. His words, not mine, for this specific test.
That just seems like a simple cop out. I don't buy that at all.
Okay.
I don't buy that at all. Guys throw balls in there. It is a complete randomized test of what that ball is going to do. When it repels off the green and it heads down in the sandy area, how would you possibly prepare for that? Hit
a ton of shots out of there would be the easy answer to that. I don't know why you're pushing back on this right now.
It seems ridiculous. I think he was more not a fan of playing the Memorial Tournament the week ahead of a major. He typically does not do that. I do not see him doing that for 2025, although he does play the Genesis Scottish Open in advance of the Open Championship. I think that's more to get accustomed to links golf as well as the time change. How about Tiger Woods, Rex? Peter's out. Did not come particularly close to making the cut after a couple of late bogeys. He says he is going to play just one more tournament the remainder of the year as the Open Championship. It is the same story again and again. He said, pick your poison. He wants to play more tournament golf, but he can't play more tournament golf because then he would hurt himself. Then he cannot prepare accordingly for a major championship. When is this song and dance going to end, or will it ever get better than it is right now?
What ending would you imagine at this point? Like, what do you
I mean, he has. There is a large enough sample size now since 2022 to know that this Hogan-esque schedule of just playing the major championships does not work. It cannot work in today's environment where the players are bigger, stronger, faster. They're playing 20 to 25 times a year. They're just so much sharper. They're just so much better. If I'm Tiger Woods and I'm preparing for 2025, I would anticipate actually trying to play once a month, like he said he was going to do. Now once a month, April through July. I'm talking once a month, February, March, April, May, June, July. And if he potentially can qualify for the playoffs in August.
Once a month might be an option now, because as I reported last night, that the PGA Tour has approved, or will approve next Tuesday during a policy board meeting, a special exemption just for him that will give him access to all of next year's signature events. So that is 8 events along with the majors. Now we are talking about 12. So technically he is roughly playing once a month. I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect him to actually use that exemption very often other than for his own event at the Genesis Invitational. There's a level of frustration that he had. And you're right. It goes to the idea that he knows he just can't show up and expect something magical to happen when he hasn't put the time into it. And I'm not talking about the time back home on the range in South Florida trying to find the swing. He worked hard when he was at tournaments. He played tournaments with an idea that, okay, I'm going to do this week, with an idea that because I want to do it at the U.S. Open or whatever major was coming up next. He simply can't do that, and I think that's frustrating him more than anything. I do think it was interesting. He was asked point blank if this could be his last U.S. Open. I think both you and I know that's not going to be the case, but his exemption into the U.S. Open is out. He needed a special exemption this year. The USGA, I'm sure, would give him as many as he wants, but it does quantify his greatness in a way that I haven't felt in a long time, that this could, in theory, mathematically, be his last one.
Pebble Beach in a couple years' time seems like a fitting farewell for Tiger Woods if he so wanted to do so. In the U.S. Open, golf's toughest test, it does not seem like the major that he is most equipped to win at this point. Also missing the cut this week, Rex, Victor Hovland, Max Homa, Justin Thomas, Jason Day, Will Zalatoris, among others. What are you most looking forward to seeing on Saturday at the U.S. Open before we get out of here? Because you do have it live from HIT in the next hour.
First and foremost, I think what we talked about, just the idea of how this golf course is just going to get firmer and faster and more difficult. And the players we're still pretty good today. I don't know if we heard a lot of complaining. I don't know. I don't think I heard any complaining whatsoever, but it's not going to get any easier. I don't expect to walk out on that golf course to do my hit on live from tonight and suddenly see a bunch of water being thrown on the golf course. This is by design. The USGA knows what it's doing, and the struggles that we saw today are only going to be magnified tomorrow. That is entertaining to me. However, it does create an interesting narrative that I started to see on social media today, that by doing this, the USGA is not identifying the best golfer this week. I don't agree with that, but it is an interesting narrative.
I don't understand that. Perhaps we can flesh that out after the pod. To me, this has been perfectly played by the USGA's John Bodenhammer, who has taken a very rational, a very sensible path to setting up U.S. Open golf courses. To me, the lack of player hand-wringing is an indication that they're not taking it too far. But I also don't think, as you see Ludvig Åberg leading this golf tournament 500 par through 36 holes, has been a pushover either. They're certainly letting Donald Ross's gem here at Pinehurst number 2 shine. And that was the goal all along. All right. That is going to do it for this edition of the Golf Channel podcast with Rex and Lav. You guys know the drill. NBCSports.com/golf for our latest news, notes, and updates. We have plenty of stories up on the website right now, including a deep dive, apparently, on Thomas Dietrich. Make sure you catch Rex and I on live from the U.S. Open on Saturday morning. We will then have 6 hours for the final tee time. As always, thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. We'll talk to you guys on Saturday night.